What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hot Zone podcast with XLS Game, your host. Now, today's episode is just me, and we're just going to be talking about something that's very close to my heart and close to my life, and that is religion. But today's going to be not just a sermon, me preaching the gospel to you guys, because I know that's not all what you guys want to hear. I want to talk about life and its meaning and what I have found to be some of the struggles of growing up in a world that is not as religious as I am, or as religious as it should be, um, and the difficulties that come along with that. And yeah, we're gonna get into it, and we're gonna get into some deep philosophical beliefs. So I hope you guys are ready for this episode. So, without further ado, let's hop in to the hot zone. All right, guys. So I wasn't religious really until several years ago after I went to a Christian college called Regent University, which is one of the most pristine Christian colleges in the entire North America. Um, and when I went there, I was just going for criminal justice to become a law enforcement agent. I was going for, I think, a 4 year degree in criminal justice. And so I really wasn't going there for God or for women or for parties or anything like that. I was going there specifically for criminal justice, um, and I really didn't know what to expect when I got there. Right, this is the first time I had left home. I was away from my parents for the first time. I was away from friends and family for the first time. I had no friends. I lived about 2.5 hours from my house. So I lived in Williamsburg, Virginia at the time, and my college was located in Virginia Beach, so I was living on the beach. Well, not necessarily on the beach. I was about 20-minute drive from the beach. Um, and so I was not necessarily super far. It's not like I moved across the country, but I was far enough away in that the sense that my parents just couldn't drive if I needed something, like if I needed something from the store or something, they're not gonna be able to just drive that distance to come get it for me. So I would use a lot of like shopping apps and stuff to help with that. But I met some really cool people, and I met some really bad people at the college. So, but that's just life. Sometimes you meet some really bad people. Sometimes you really meet some really good people. And to the good people out there, you know your names. You know Dylan, and all those guys. I miss you guys so much, and I hope that you guys are having a fantastic life. I know some of us have lost contact, but it is what it is, right? That's life. But when I was in college, I had my founding of Christianity. I mean, I've always been raised in a Christian household. My mom and dad are both Christians. My mom's more practicing than I think my dad is, in my personal opinion. And we always have like Christian things hanging on the walls, or we went to some years we would go to the Christmas ceremonies at church. And we used to do small things or whatever, but never were we super heavy Christians. And I think that's what helped form my bond with Christianity better than a lot of people have, is because I wasn't forced into the religion. I found the religion, right? I made the active choice to switch over to it. And so I switched over to it in about 2021, 2022. So now I've been a real full-time Christian, actually believing in the religion, actually somewhat reading the Bible, and doing the best I can with praying and all this other type of stuff that you do as a Christian. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm actually participating in those actions more now than I was for about 4 years, give or take. Um, but my entire life, I've struggled with depression. A lot of my family doesn't even know I have it, so you guys are getting told a secret. I've had depression for years. Probably most of my teenage and adult life so far, I've been depressed. That has been something that I've struggled with internally. It's something I don't discuss or show very often. Even to you guys on streams and in videos, I'm very good at disguising it. But this last couple of months, before October, how was really good. I wasn't depressed. I was having a good time. I was rejuvenated. And then last month, October, and a little bit of this month, I've been kind of depressed again. And it sucks. It sucks that it's back, but I know that it's only for the time being, and that it will go away eventually. And I think this made me really think about just the future of my life, right? Like, I love watching movies that have deep meanings, and I've been watching some. I've been in a romantic movie kick recently. That's been my kick. I don't know why I'm in that movie kick, but I've been found myself watching a lot of romantic movies, or even slightly less action, because I'm usually an action movie guy. But recently, I've just watched a lot of romantic movies that are on Netflix. And one thing I've took a notice to is that there's this deep longing for connection that is within our soul that is oftentimes neglected, in my personal opinion. Like, it's neglected, and I think that's a bad thing. The fact that a lot of us just like disconnect from society in a way that is really not healthy. For example, dating in the modern age is pretty annoying. I'm sure you guys in the comments will agree with me on that. It's pretty fucking annoying to date in the modern age, right? Women are not as likely to want to marry and have a faithful marriage as much as they would have like 25 years ago or even 10 years ago. Men are more likely to not have enough money to support a future with a woman or a male or whatever, than they would have, 10, 15, 25 years ago. So dating has become a lot harder, and I'm a victim of this as well. I mean, I don't have a job right now. I'm poor. I mean, my family's okay, but like, I'm not financially good. But that's just because of other reasons, right? But still, I'm also a part of that problem where I'm not ready for the future. But I think that the grand scheme of life right now is just so rough for a lot of people. And we got this election coming up that's pretty important, and I want to talk politics. I think I might talk politics the first Sunday after the election, which should be next Sunday, because I think this week's the election. I think Tuesday is the election. But we have this crazy election going on, and we have the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel, with Israel defending its right to practice its faith and the land that it's owned. And they got Ukraine defending its homeland from an invader called Russia. And then across the globe in other locations, you have a lot of other things happening on, like riots and protests, school shootings. You have, a lot of things. There's a lot of kid likers out there. You know what I'm talking about, the P's, the P-dubs, the P-dubs. I can't say that word on YouTube because I'm trying to get demonetized. But there's so much negative stuff happening in the world. There's so much bad stuff happening. There's so much evil in this world, and I think a lot of us forget to just enjoy life for what it is. I mean, when was the last time you looked at nature? I mean, nature's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Mother Nature has proven once and again and again and over and over again that even when you're on your low half, that there is something always amazing to see in life. And that has made me question my life as a whole. And I come back to the movie thing I was mentioning. There were some movies that I watched, and it was based around a character who dies at the end, right? And they go through this journey. I think the last one I watched was Bella Thorne. It was in it, and she had like a skincare disease. Basically, she couldn't see the sun, and they went through this whole journey, right, of her finally feeling connections, right, and finally feeling the love and the hope in her life, and then obviously getting sick and dying at the end. Spoiler alert. And it made me really think about the way it is for us as humans. We desire so much connection in so many different ways, via friendships, love, faith, from partnership in terms of like work, etc. So we always want connections, and we live such short lives in comparison to other other things, right? I mean, the average human lives about 60 years, 70 years, 80 years if you're really pushing it, right? And then the real goats in the community can live up to 90 to 100, right? But you're not going to see many people past 100 or past 200, right? Obviously. And so we live um we live such we live such lives that are so based on time ending instead of living on the sense of life is short. And what I mean by this is like we don't try things, we don't attempt things as much as we probably should, because we're a fear of being failures, or fear of being misfits, or failures of embarrassment or awkwardness. And while yes, those feelings are valid, I'm starting to learn as I get older. And for reference, I'm 22, so I haven't lived all that long. Um, but I'm learning as I get older that it's okay to have those awkward moments, and it's even if not okay, it's better to have those awkward moments and those embarrassing moments. Um, and it's something I'm practicing with and I'm getting better at as I get older, because life is short, man. Like, I'm 22. I've lived for a quarter of my life already. Like, that's it. It's over. Like, a quarter of my life is down the drain already. Right? The average human is living what, like 60, 70, 80, whatever. So I have less than 75% of my life left, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't that many years, right? It's enough years for me to hopefully find a wife, have kids, and watch them grow up a little bit, and then I'll be in the age where I have to start thinking about what happens after I'm gone. And that is a insane thing to think about, right? Like, we are so close to the end for a lot of people. And so it's made me rethink the meaning of life, right? What is the meaning of life? Because we oftentimes forget what it means to be alive, right? We take politics for as our meaning. Like, you have some guys, people who that's all they care about is politics. Some people only care about sports or gaming or food or women or cars or whatever, money. And so people have their own obsessions that keeps them living, right? Like, for me, the big thing is gaming and history. Those two are my meaning for life, right? Those are the things that keep me going day in and day out, because I love history and I love gaming and I love making gaming content for you guys. And that is a huge part of who I am. But some people may not like that, and that's fine. Some people have their own forms of living. And the thing that it gets me is like, we as a civilization, I shouldn't say a community, us as a civilization, um, have disconnected but reconnected in different ways since the beginning of time, right? You go back foreign centuries, um, and you didn't have the phones or technology we have now, and it would take weeks sometimes for letters to get to you, especially if you look back in colonial America. Colonial America, a lot of times it would take days, if not weeks, to get mail, because they would have to traverse the un um, unadventured land between, like, say, Pennsylvania or New York down to North Carolina or South Carolina, and that's a lot of land to traverse on a horse, right? And so back then, it was more common to interact with people at pubs, or at your local courthouse, or at your local general store, etc., or church. Church would have been a big thing back in those early years of our country, as well as just in history. Churches would have been the vocal point of civilization. And I like to think they were happier than us. I really do. I like to think they were a happier time than us, because there was a lot of turmoil back in those times. You had wars and you had slavery and all these other awful things, but they were more connected on a level that we will never truly get or understand. And I think that is a crazy thought to think. Like, when I do Civil War reenacting, and I have an event coming up soon, by the way, so that's pretty cool. But when I do Civil War reenacting, I only done it a couple times so far because I'm still new to the hobby. But there was a burning feeling in my stomach the first time that I got together with my unit and I put on the uniform and I got to shoot, and I was, standing in formation, doing the drills they would have done, and it made me think of just how personal it is for them, or would have been for them. When I was standing in the line, the regimental line, I was not far apart from each other. We were up close, squished together. I think I was probably the closest I've been to men in my entire life. Um, and it felt so personal. It felt so real, right? It felt deep within my soul. That ounce of we are in this together type of vibe. And even though I knew it was reacting, there was a part of my soul that knew that like it felt what those men had went through, right? That idea of being so close to one another that you can feel the fear, the love, the heat, the coldness, the uncomfortableness, the funniness, all of those emotional feelings you could feel just from being in the vicinity of another person. Something we don't get today as much as we used to. Now, I'm sure there's people that will be watching this video that go out to clubs or whatever, and they say, well, we feel these feelings. You might feel them, but you don't feel them. You know what I mean? Like, today it's become more acceptable to be a hater than it has become to be a lover. Okay? And I don't mean lover in the terms of sexual or romantical loving. I mean in the sense of um, just the human love, right? The human love for one another, right? I think Keanu Reeves said something like, "If you have love, then what do you? If you don't have love, then what do you have?" Or something like that. And it was so right because he didn't mean it in a sexual or romantic way. He meant it in just a genuine human way, a human, genuine reaction, right? If you don't have love, then what do you have? And I think that is an amazing question because it persists throughout human evolution, right? We all are designed from birth to want love. When you come out the womb, what do? You cry for your mother's attention, right? That is the first thing your body does. That is the first thing your brain thinks of, right? The beginning stages of your brain is thinking about love, not hate. It's not thinking about just bursting out in hate and trash talking your parents when you first get born. No, your first intention is to love, and I think that is such a human thing to do. But we are slowly losing that as a culture. Um, and no means am I disrespecting the gaming or internet world because I live in that world and I love that world and I want not to have that world if I could. But I do think that there is problems within our world that are growing faster and faster with every year. And this election, for example, has taught me a lot of that. You know, before as a country, if we disagreed. It wasn't a huge deal. But this election has torn such a fine line between right and wrong, right? Between the right and the left, between um, religion, which is what the right is. There's more religion focused stuff, and then non-religious on the left. And I think this is a modern day version of the good versus evil, and I think that is a very huge um, thing that's happening, right? This is something that has happened for you like for a long time, right? Because the last time we really had something this bad in terms of religion is hundreds of years ago. Because in the past 100 years, we haven't really had any serious political drama, right? We've had drama, but not like where it's this torn. Um, and I think that's an unfortunate thing because the male suicide rate is through the roof. The depression for men and women is through the roof. The amount of orphans around the world are through the roof. The amount of abortions through the world are through the roof. The amount of divorces through the world is through the roof. And there's so many negative effects of not having enough love in our country and enough love in our world, and I think that's an important thing. And so for me, and to me, and this is something I struggle with, but this is my belief, and it's something I'm working on. I think the meaning of life is love. That's the meaning of life. We are born to love, and then we die. After we have loved the maximum we can possibly love. And that's when we die. And after that, well, I don't know. We go to heaven, we go to hell, we sit in the emptiest void of space. We just don't know we exist. whatever, we get reincarnated or whatever, right? I don't know what is after death. I can't tell you that. But what I can say is don't be afraid to be emotionally open. And I think that is a huge thing in our world. Like everyone's so locked up in their world. Everyone's so wrapped up in their cases, and I think that's a pretty big problem because if we're always wrapped up in our own cases or we're always sheltered, then I feel like we are failing as a civilization because we're not designed to be closed off. We're designed to be open. Now, one thing I've learned with religion and why I do Christianity over any other religion is because Christianity is a religion focused on love. Now, there's been some bad things that Christians have done in the past. You know, the Crusades are pretty evil. As much as I love the Crusades, like I love the medieval Crusades because they're so dope, like the outfits, the time periods, etc. But the actual reasoning for Crusades is obviously not the greatest. And Christians have killed many innocents throughout their thousands of years of being the dominant religion on the planet, and so it's not perfect, but it is one of the only religions that is focused around peace, right? You go to any other religion, and there's a lot of evil or a lot of bad in those religions that is a part of the religion. And while Christianity is different, Christianity is all about love, and it's about accepting one another, right? Now, Christians have struggled to accept a lot of different things, like gays, but in the grand scheme of things, most religious people are accepting. Depends if you're a hardcore Christian or not. If you're extremely hardcore, like go to church every Sunday, don't curse, etc., those type of Christians, you might be a little less accepting. But for most moderate to modern Christians, or just generic Christians, as much as that might sound mean, that is the truth. Like I'm a generic Christian, right? I believe in God, I have my faith in Him, I love Him, and I know He's always with me. But I'm not going to church every Sunday. I'm not like praying every single day. Because I mean, like I'm a human, right? I got other things that I'm doing, and so I'm not always doing those things, right? And so I'm a little more open to different things, right? And I think that's a lot of modern Christians are. And there's problems with that, and there's also not problems with that. It depends on how you look at it. But because of the way Christianity is, I think it's one of the religions that is better for civilization as a whole than any other religion, right? Because there might be religions that have some fundamental values that are good, but the Christian religion is the only religion that has a baseline for how humans should be, right? Don't steal, don't rape, don't kill, don't cheat, stay faithful to your marriage and to God, um, don't don't lust, things like that. These are all things that are, I think, are very bare minimum in today's world that we should all um, be listening to, right? Because you don't have to be a Christian, but you probably follow Christian laws, and you don't even realize it because they're just human values, and I think that's really good. I think that's one of the only that's like one of the only things that other religions really struggle not to have is they struggle not to have some basis for humans, right? Because some religions work really good in the areas they're in, but when you start taking those religions outside of those areas, then you start to see that they're not that great. And so, Christianity is one of those religions that you can use anywhere, anytime, at any point in your life, and it will better your life, not negatively impact it. So, I've been talking for 23 minutes, and I feel like I was talking for an hour, so this might be a short episode. But I hope to hear some of you guys' thoughts down below because this is one of those topics that I'm always learning from and I'm always interested in because life is so inherently short. And I learned that hard this year with the loss of my dog, who I've had since I was a kid. And not having him here has kind of snapped a switch in me that is said that hey, life is just short. It's short, man. It's not fast, man. It's it's short, but it's not insanely short. So you're not gonna like life's not gonna fly by you, but life is short enough that like if you don't pay attention, it will go by, and you will regret not spending that time doing the things that you care about or the things that you spend time with those who care about. And so, to those watching this video out there, I say this: when was the last time you went out and hung out with friends, other than gaming? Or when was the last time um, you guys went out and partake in a public activity? Sorry about the edit, guys. My nose was killing me. I couldn't speak. But when was the last time you opened up to someone how you feel? When was the last time you hugged someone or shook someone's hand and said thank you? Or when was the last time you held the door open for someone? These are all small feats of love that you can do. And I think once you start doing them, and I myself have not been doing them enough, um, that will transcend verbs, right? Or adjectives or whatever, right? They they progress throughout, and people remember those things more than I would argue words sometimes. And I would also say don't be afraid to know the bad stuff in life, right? A lot of us like to just forget about the bad and only remember the good. But even the bad stuff has lessons to be learned. Which is why I love history so much, because history is full of bad stuff. Full of it, man. Genocides, murder, war, oppression, famine, disease, hunger. But there's so much good. Inventions, religion, progression in the human spirit, right? And so you have to know that there's more out there than what you are being told by media or by whatever. And don't fear to be you. And don't fear to be wanted. Don't fear anything like that. Because if you are if you are wanting, if your body is your soul and all that is telling you you want love in some form, either romantic or whatever, that is not an unnatural feeling, and it is a natural feeling. Because if it is the most natural, in my opinion, the most natural feeling, because it is a feeling that you were born with from the second you breathe oxygen for the first time. That is the thing that connects each and every individual of us, except for psychopaths that don't have the ability to feel love. But that's a topic for another day. I, as a human being, have not been the most loving person to many, and it's something I'm working to strive to. I like to feel like I am some days. Like I do YouTube and I do gaming and I help people. Like I do YouTube to help people, and so it might seem like I'm a caring person, but it's something I struggle with daily. That I struggle to be nice. I struggle not to be a dick or a douche. I struggle not to just close the world off some days, and that is a completely normal feeling. But don't forget that you are a lover first and a hater second. Okay? Don't forget that. Because when you do forget that, you become a cold, isolated person, and it is not a fun time. Okay? So, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here towards the end. I want to thank you guys for watching. I know these episodes haven't reached 55 minutes like I said they would. Um, but that's because I'm getting kind of way too good at communicating my thoughts and feelings on some of these topics. So maybe in the future we'll pick some topics that are a lot harder to explain so we can get those 55-minute ranges. But my closing statement is this. Life is hard, but it doesn't have to be all the time. So strive to find the moments and the reasons to not have a hard life. Okay? Just because you're poor or you're a race that maybe you feel is not appreciated, or you are transgender, or you are gay, or you are a female, or you are a white average straight male who is struggling to find a reason to keep going, Remember that in this world there is a lot of turmoil, okay? But that turmoil is never truly directed at you. You are just here by coincidence, okay? That turmoil is focused on something far, far, far away. But it doesn't know how to find itself, so it just strikes everything in its path. Find the love in that. Find the love in life, find the love in the world, and you will be fine. And as always, thank you guys for watching the Hot Zone podcast with your host, XLSS Gaming. I have a link tree down below. Check out my Discord, all those type of things. I got Patreon if you guys want to support me. Just be happy in life. Be happy. I know it's hard, but be happy because happiness will fill your entire heart and soul with an energy and a passion that you may not have ever felt before. And boy, once you feel it, there'll be no going back. And as always, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys later.